A figure stood at the periphery of the grand conference hall, an island of quietude in a sea of bustling professionals, the air thick with the clatter of networking and the murmur of self-importance. Her simple attire and unassuming demeanor, a stark contrast to the tailored suits and confident strides that surrounded her. A subtle yet palpable sense of underestimation clinging to her like an invisible cloak, the initial moments hinting at a narrative of unnoticed potential. She observed the dynamic tableau, the easy camaraderie among those who seemed to belong, the subtle glances that occasionally flickered her way, often with a dismissive air that spoke volumes without uttering a word. And within her quietude, a deep well of resolve began to stir, a silent acknowledgment of the challenge that lay ahead, the opening scene setting the stage for a compelling journey. The sheer scale of the event was impressive, a testament to the importance of the field it represented, yet the unspoken hierarchies were equally evident, woven into the very fabric of the interactions, the way conversations flowed, the circles that formed, and the individuals who commanded attention without even trying. The protagonist a stark outsider in this intricate social dance, her presence almost an anomaly. She carried herself with a quiet dignity, her shoulders slightly squared, her gaze steady as she absorbed the nuances of this environment. A silent observer keenly aware of the invisible barriers that separated her from the perceived elite, her internal strength a stark contrast to her outward simplicity. There was a story etched in the lines around her eyes, a history of quiet perseverance and perhaps unspoken brilliance, a depth that the superficial glances failed to recognize, the initial injustice of her underestimation becoming increasingly apparent. The opulent ballroom, a cavern of crystal and gilt, buzzed with an almost palpable energy on the opening night gala, chandeliers showering the assembled guests in a warm, flattering light, the clinking of champagne flutes and the murmur of sophisticated conversation filling the air. Important figures from the industry holding court in various corners, their laughter echoing with self-assurance. Amidst this spectacle, the quiet woman found a solitary spot near a towering floral arrangement, her gaze sweeping across the room, taking in the intricate dance of power and prestige, a silent observer in a world that seemed meticulously crafted to exclude those who did not fit a certain mold, the initial feeling of injustice solidifying into a quiet determination. The very architecture of the venue seemed to reinforce the existing hierarchies, the grand staircases, the strategically placed seating arrangements, all contributing to an atmosphere where some were clearly more equal than others, and the protagonist, with her simple dress and unobtrusive presence, was undoubtedly among those on the periphery. Yet there was no hint of resentment in her expression, only a profound sense of observation, as if she were studying a complex ecosystem, understanding its rules and its inhabitants, preparing for a moment that was yet to come, a moment when the superficial barriers might crumble. The conversation she overheard, snippets of jargon-laden pronouncements and boastful anecdotes, served only to further highlight the chasm between outward display and genuine substance, and in this realization, a quiet confidence began to bloom. Within her, an inner knowing of the value she possessed, irrespective of her current standing. The contrast between her quiet contemplation and the boisterous self-promotion around her created a subtle tension, a silent anticipation of a shift in the established order, the narrative subtly hinting at an impending disruption of the status quo. As the conference sessions commenced, a predictable pattern emerged, the more well-known figures occupying the front rows, their hands eagerly raised to pose questions, their voices carrying an air of authority, while the woman found herself consistently relegated to the seats further back, her presence seemingly invisible to the panelists and moderators. When she did manage to interject with a thoughtful query, her voice was often lost in the ensuing flurry of comments from more assertive participants, or her insights were politely acknowledged, but quickly overshadowed by the opinions of those with more established reputations, each instance a subtle prick of dismissal, a reinforcement of her marginalized status. Yet her resolve remained steadfast, fueled by an inner conviction that transcended the superficial judgments being cast upon her. The building tension centered around her quiet endurance. She meticulously took notes, her pen gliding across the pages, capturing the essence of the discussions, sifting through the noise to extract the nuggets of genuine insight. Her focus unwavering despite the subtle slights. Her quiet diligence, a testament to her deep commitment to the field, a commitment that ran far deeper than the outward displays of many who commanded the spotlight. During the coffee breaks, she often found herself alone, observing the intricate social networks forming and dissolving, the quick exchanges of business cards, and the animated discussions of future collaborations. She was an outsider looking in, yet there was no bitterness in her gaze, only a keen analytical observation of the dynamics at play, as if she were gathering data, understanding the landscape before making her own strategic move. The very act of her quiet perseverance became a form of subtle defiance, a refusal to be deterred by the lack of outward recognition, her inner strength a silent counterpoint to the superficiality that surrounded her. The narrative subtly emphasizing the power of unseen qualities. The days unfolded into a predictable rhythm of presentations, workshops, and networking events, each reinforcing the existing hierarchy and the woman's seemingly insignificant place within it. Yet within her quiet exterior, a transformation was occurring, a subtle shift in her posture, a growing intensity in her gaze, as if she were patiently waiting for the opportune moment, a key event towards which the narrative was inexorably building, the suspense subtly increasing with each passing day. She continued to attend the sessions, absorbing information, formulating her own ideas, her mind a fertile ground where insights were taking root and blossoming, while the outward world remained largely oblivious to the intellectual powerhouse residing within her unassuming frame. There were moments of fleeting connection, brief conversations with other attendees who also seemed to occupy the fringes, shared glances that acknowledged the unspoken dynamics of the conference. These small interactions providing subtle hints of a potential alliance or a shared understanding that transcended the superficial barriers. She learned the unspoken rules of engagement, the subtle cues that dictated who was heard and who was ignored, not with the intention of conforming, but with the aim of understanding the terrain before making her own strategic intervention, her quiet observation serving as a form of preparation for the inevitable climax of the story. The anticipation of the keynote speech, the identity of the speaker still shrouded in secrecy, became a focal point of speculation among the attendees, their predictions invariably centering on established figures, individuals who already held positions of prominence within the field, the possibility of an unknown entity taking the stage seemingly beyond their consideration, a dramatic irony that heightened the sense of anticipation for the protagonist's eventual reveal. The eve of the keynote address arrived, a palpable buzz of excitement and anticipation filling the air, rumors and speculation swirling among the attendees regarding the identity of the distinguished speaker who would grace the stage the following day. Their conversations filled with names of renowned experts and influential personalities, their collective imagination seemingly incapable of considering anyone outside the established elite. The simple woman moved through these gatherings like a ghost, unnoticed and unheard, her very anonymity adding to the mounting suspense that preceded the climactic reveal. She listened to the confident pronouncements, the casual dropping of prestigious affiliations, the assumptions that power and influence were inextricably linked to outward appearance and established reputation, and within her quietude, a sense of quiet amusement began to flicker, a knowing smile playing on her lips that hinted at the surprise that awaited them all. She had spent the days absorbing the atmosphere, understanding the prevailing mindset, and preparing herself for the moment when she would step out of the shadows and reveal the depth of her knowledge and the brilliance of her insights. The building tension reaching a fever pitch as the unknown keynote speaker remained the subject of intense speculation. The contrast between the attendees' confident assumptions and the reality that was about to unfold created a powerful sense of dramatic irony. The audience completely unaware that the unassuming figure in their midst held the key to the conference's most anticipated moment. The narrative poised on the brink of a significant turning point. The weight of expectation surrounding the keynote address only served to amplify the potential impact of the protagonist's eventual emergence. The collective anticipation, a stage upon which her triumph would be all the more significant. The final day of the conference dawned with an almost electric charge in the atmosphere. The anticipation for the keynote speech reaching its peak. The grand hall filled to capacity, every seat taken, as attendees eagerly awaited the unveiling of the distinguished speaker, a hush falling over the expectant audience as the conference organizer stepped onto the stage. His voice booming through the microphone, his words carefully chosen to build further excitement for the event's highlight. The spotlight then shifting not to the expected center stage, but to a more unassuming area to the side. And as the simple woman, no longer cloaked in anonymity but radiating an undeniable inner confidence, began to walk towards the podium, a collective gasp rippled through the room. A wave of stunned silence followed by a low murmur of disbelief and dawning recognition, the dramatic reveal unfolding in a moment of profound impact. Faces in the crowd registered a spectrum of emotions, from utter shock and confusion to a slow realization as whispers of, "It can't be," and "Is that?" began to circulate. The carefully constructed hierarchies of the conference, suddenly thrown into disarray by this unexpected turn of events, the initial injustice about to be addressed in a manner no one had foreseen. The transformation in the woman's demeanor was palpable, the quiet observer now exuding an aura of authority that commanded attention without uttering a single word, her simple attire no longer a sign of marginalization, but a symbol of her authenticity and the irrelevance of superficial appearances in the face of true merit. The climactic moment arriving with a potent sense of dramatic irony. The perceptive allies scattered throughout the audience exchanged knowing glances, a silent acknowledgement of the journey that had led to this moment, their earlier faith in the protagonist about to be validated in a spectacular fashion, the narrative reaching its zenith. With a quiet grace that belied the storm of surprise she had just unleashed, she began to speak, her voice, though initially soft, possessing a clarity and resonance that cut through the lingering murmurs of the audience, her words weaving together a tapestry of profound insights, groundbreaking research, and visionary ideas that immediately captivated the room. The initial skepticism and disbelief melting away like ice under a warm sun as the power of her intellect and the depth of her knowledge became unequivocally apparent. A palpable transformation of perception sweeping through the hall. She spoke with an eloquence and authority that commanded respect, her arguments meticulously crafted, her evidence compelling, her passion for the subject matter radiating outwards and igniting a similar enthusiasm in the listeners, the superficial judgments of the past few days dissolving in the face of her undeniable brilliance. The content of her speech was revolutionary, challenging long-held assumptions and offering fresh perspectives that sparked a wave of intellectual excitement among the attendees. The very ideas she presented serving as a powerful testament to the depth of her understanding and the originality of her thinking. The initial underestimation now appearing as a profound oversight. As she delved deeper into her subject, her voice gained strength and conviction, her delivery captivating, her every word carrying the weight of years of quiet study and profound contemplation. The audience completely enthralled. Their earlier preoccupation with status and appearance now replaced by a genuine appreciation for the intellectual feast before them. The power of her unseen qualities finally unleashed. The atmosphere in the hall shifted from one of polite expectation to one of rapt attention, every eye fixed on the unassuming woman who now held them spellbound with the sheer force of her intellect and the transformative power of her ideas. The climax of the story resonating with intellectual and emotional impact. Her speech resonated deeply with the audience, challenging their preconceived notions, sparking new avenues of thought, and inspiring a collective sense of intellectual awakening. The same individuals who had previously overlooked or dismissed her now leaning forward in their seats, their expressions a mixture of awe and captivated attention. Their earlier arrogance and superficiality replaced by a profound respect and admiration for the brilliance that was unfolding before them. The transformation of perception reaching its full effect. She addressed complex issues with a clarity and insight that was both illuminating and profound. Her ability to articulate intricate concepts in an accessible manner, further highlighting her mastery of the subject matter. The initial barriers of social standing and outward appearance now utterly irrelevant. Her message was one of innovation and progress, urging the field to embrace new perspectives and challenge established paradigms, her words carrying the weight of authority earned through dedication and intellectual rigor, rather than through self-promotion or superficial networking. The impact of her climactic reveal continuing to ripple through the audience. The questions she had posed during earlier sessions, once dismissed or glossed over, now took on a new significance in light of her keynote address, her earlier quiet observations revealing themselves as seeds of profound insight that had finally blossomed into a powerful and transformative message, the narrative underscoring the importance of listening to all voices regardless of their perceived status. The engagement of the audience was palpable, heads nodding in agreement, pens scribbling furiously as they captured her key points, the energy in the room shifting from polite attention to fervent intellectual engagement, the vindication of the protagonist becoming increasingly evident in the reactions of those who had once underestimated her. The conclusion of her address was met with a moment of stunned silence, followed by an eruption of thunderous applause that filled the grand hall, a spontaneous and heartfelt standing ovation that swept through the audience, a powerful testament to the impact of her words and the undeniable triumph of her authenticity over superficial judgment. The once ignored woman now the undisputed center of attention, her vindication complete and resounding, the emotional peak of the narrative reached. Faces that had once worn expressions of indifference or subtle dismissal were now filled with genuine admiration and respect. The superficial barriers that had separated them from her now completely dissolved by the sheer force of her intellect and the power of her message, the transformation of perception fully realized. Even the most established figures in the field rose to their feet, their applause sincere, their earlier assumptions shattered by the brilliance they had just witnessed. The collective recognition of her true worth a moment of profound justice, the moral of the story resonating deeply within the hall. The conference organizer, who had introduced her with a carefully crafted air of mystery, now stood beaming, the unexpected reveal having created a moment of truly memorable significance for the event, the lasting impact of the protagonist's triumph beginning to take shape. As the applause continued, the woman on the stage allowed a small, genuine smile to touch her lips, a quiet acknowledgement of her journey and the validation of her life's work, her humble demeanor only serving to amplify the power of her achievement, the heartwarming resolution beginning to unfold. In the days and weeks following the conference, the ideas presented in her keynote address sparked widespread discussion and debate within the field, her insights becoming a pivotal point of reference. Her research papers suddenly in high demand, the simple appearance she had maintained now becoming a symbol of profound intellect and a potent reminder of the inherent danger in judging individuals based on outward appearances, the moral lesson of her story taking firm root in the minds of those who had been present. Invitations to speak at other prestigious events began to flood in, her expertise now highly sought after, the once ignored woman finding herself at the forefront of her field, her voice carrying weight and authority, her influence undeniable. The consequences of her climactic reveal extending far beyond the conference hall. The attendees who had initially dismissed her recounted their experience with a newfound humility, acknowledging their earlier oversight and marveling at the depth of her hidden talent, the transformation of perception having a lasting impact on their own perspectives. The story of the unassuming keynote speaker became a whispered legend within the industry, a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of superficial judgment, and a powerful inspiration to those who felt marginalized or underestimated. Her triumph serving as a beacon of hope and a testament to the enduring power of meritocracy. Her perceptive allies, who had recognized her potential from the beginning, watched with quiet satisfaction as her brilliance finally received the recognition it deserved, their earlier faith vindicated, their support having played a crucial role in her journey, the uplifting conclusion solidifying the heartwarming message of the narrative. Years later, the memory of that pivotal conference served as a powerful and enduring reminder within the field of the fundamental importance of looking beyond the surface, of valuing substance over superficiality, the simple woman's unexpected brilliance having left an indelible mark on the discipline, her story a timeless testament to the enduring power of inner worth and the ultimate triumph of authenticity and talent over prejudice and underestimation. The uplifting and inspirational conclusion. of her journey resonating through time. Her work continued to shape the direction of the field, her insights remaining relevant and impactful. Her legacy secured not through self-promotion or outward display, but through the sheer power of her intellect and the transformative nature of her ideas, her triumph serving as a lasting inspiration to future generations. The conference that had initially been a stage for her marginalization ultimately became the platform for her vindication, a turning point that not only elevated her own standing, but also served to challenge and reshape the prevailing culture within her profession. The moral of her story continuing to resonate. The simple attire she had worn became iconic, a symbol of her authenticity and a powerful statement against the superficiality that often permeates professional circles. Her image forever linked to the idea that true worth lies within, not in outward presentation, the heartwarming message enduring. And so, the tale of the simple woman who was underestimated but ultimately triumphed became a cherished narrative, a reminder that true brilliance can often be found in the most unexpected places, and that the quietest voices can sometimes hold the most profound truths. The inspirational drama concluding with a sense of lasting hope and the enduring power of the underdog narrative.